Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper of the Hairy Channel, and with me tonight are minions SkepTok.
Hi, everybody.
DrFunctional.
Yo.
And Working Internet Edition Serenity Star 13.
Yay!
Yay! Hello. And I have working audio, which is actually pretty great. You know, when I was having all those issues and we had to restart the show last week, it was because something has changed in StreamYard where when I'm using Firefox, it will only use the same output as the default output for my Mac, which is really dumb because that means you will get feedback. Yeah.
It will only use that
I
channel?
I cannot set it to anything other than the default. And the problem is that causes the feedback, and it's terrible.
Yeah,
so I'm actually using like an audio routing hijack thing to say, oh, no, you don't. You just think you're talking to the default. You're actually talking to the thing you're supposed to be talking to. And we're back. So enough inside baseball. How are you doing, Serenity?
I'm good.
Because it's been, what, two weeks, maybe 3 since we've spoken?
I was in the show before the last one.
So it's 2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
My brain starts to get a little spongy when I have to actually get around to filing my taxes. There's a lot going on right now.
Got to watch the spongiform stuff.
Yeah. Watch that sponge.
You said it's getting cold there?
Yeah, it's
West Virginia, for anybody who doesn't know.
Yeah. Functional's 4 degrees warmer than I am up where he is. But we're about the same temperature right now because I checked it.
Yeah,
So we're both about 45 to 49 right now.
I hate to tell you this, but there's a cold snap coming your way. It's going to feel unseasonably cold very soon for you.
In all seriousness, about mid-October to late October, we always have a weird snap, and then November it warms back up. It's just dependent on how extreme it is every year. I remember there was one year on Halloween, it was like 10 degrees when I went trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
What did I do? I did what every good West Virginia kid does. You layer, you get the red wing little wagon, put pillowcases in it, and then you go to the rich neighborhood and go up and down the neighborhood and get candy. That's what you do.
There's a Red Wing. Do you mean Radio Flyer?
That thing, yes.
Yeah. Red Wing is a shoe.
Flyer. I had a radio flyer.
I did too. I remember once when I was very, very small, there was one of these like kids parade things. And I took my radio flyer wagon, I wrapped it in cardboard, spray painted the whole thing gold, made a fake propeller and put wings on it, and then basically made my dad drag me down the street for this parade.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, why not?
I had the old one where before they started putting, it was either plastic or wood on the handle where you held it. So it was a metal handle in the cold, so you always have to wear gloves, otherwise you were going to get sticky to it.
Actually, mine was actually made out of stone.
I thought yours was made out of tin.
No, it was actually carved from stone.
Oh, because it was a hand-me-down, probably. Yeah, I understand.
Exactly.
Yeah, the village wagon.
The lore of minions.
So, hi, Functional.
Hi.
Keeping busy?
Before we get into the pleasantries, I have to take a little bit of a sidebar.
Okay, go ahead.
Kitano Yugimata, my label for Keek Yogurt, what's his name? Cenk Uygur, was on Bitch and Adam today.
Yeah.
And I've kind of been on the warpath with Bitch and Adam because they are some of the most vile people I've ever come across on the internet, because they do and say things where they will ridicule other people for, say, I don't know, leveling generalizations on groups of people, or randomly labeling certain people as being racist or bigot or this or that is, while out of the other side of their mouth, berating and demonstrating how that's wrong about when other people do it. So they had Cenk Uygur on today, and my God, the amount, the buckets of semen that they were guzzling from this guy was just fucking disgusting. It was disgusting. So I know they're not probably never going to hear this, but I'm yelling it out into the public ether, into the interwebs. Fuck you. Otherwise, I've been super. Yeah. I actually, after her show today, had a short conversation with Aiden Paladin,
nice.
Sweetheart,
fellow West Virginian,
fellow former West Virginian, and current day monarchist. Which we're all allowed to have our wrong beliefs, but she's a great person, and it's all part of my master plan to one day get her on the show. So that was interesting, and my business has really been taking off in that. I started putting myself out there at the behest of the inspiration of my spouse Elwyn, to put myself out there and start doing commission work on these miniatures that I love to paint and build and everything. And in a matter of 2 months, I've been booked solid. I'm solidly booked well into the new year, which amazing. Like you're your biggest critic in so many things, and I don't want to call it validation, but just seeing that other people are recognizing that my passion has some monetary value for them is just amazing. It's blowing me away. It's keeping me super busy. It's also causing me, a little bit of that, what would you call it? Like positive stress, in that, oh my God, I've got so much to do. This is so amazing, but oh my God, I've got so much to do.
I'm flashing on Sally Fields. You like me. You really like me.
Yeah.
And it's field, singular, not fields.
Sally Field.
I know, but that's okay. I'm not normally one to correct people, but I know it really annoys the shit out of her. So. No, that's that is awesome. Maybe I should try that put myself out there thing sometime instead of the conservative hold myself back thing. But that's what basically the women in
your PR, Harry. You'll be a fucking legend in a week.
I hate self-promotion so much.
I know you do. You do.
Yeah. I hate self-promotion.
I could sell you so well.
I would
sell you as the creme de la creme. I would sell you like the gold foil hot dog.
That's a giggity.
All right, thank you.
There.
So I would. Okay, so let's roll this back a little bit. So, fantastic! Congratulations on listening to Elwyn when she was right about that. Sometimes the best thing about having women around is just they'll say, "No, you've got imposter syndrome. Stop being an idiot and just put yourself out there. What's the worst that can happen?"
Yeah, exactly. What do you have to lose? It's not like I'm investing in tools and supplies. You already have all this stuff. It's just a matter of writing copy, something I'm good at. I used to be really good at writing advertising copy. And that's all you had to, and putting myself in her shoes, saying to me, that's all you had to do is just put it out there. You're not going to lose anything but maybe 15 minutes of your time to write this little post. And then putting it on social media, and then lo and behold, got a couple nibbles. Those nibbles told their friends, and an entire school of fish came swimming up going, hey.
Let's not bring fish into this, okay?
I knew that would get under your scales.
It's bad enough we have a Nigel story coming up. Let's not bring fish into this. Okay. Anyway, awesome. Good job.
When we go parasailing and you get a gash on your leg, and I need to skin a fish and put the scales on your leg to ensure that you have the best healing possible, you'll be fine.
No.
Yeah.
I actually carry a couple different kinds of clotting agent with me, but never mind. That's just basic first aid. Hi, Skep.
How you doing, Harry?
I was thinking it was hot today, and when it was 96 degrees, I was looking to see what the temperature was at your place, and I was like, damn it, it's like 17, 19, I forget even how many degrees colder it was, and I'm like, how can it be hotter here than it is in Texas? This is stupid.
It was gorgeous, and it's going to be like 90 or something in about a day or two.
Okay, good. So the scales have been rebalanced. Yeah, that's good.
Now, remember the way that Texas works with respect to weather. There are two seasons. There's summer, and there's the part that's not summer.
Yeah.
Summer and not summer. Those are the two seasons. and this is summer sputtering out, and pretty soon we'll get our annual allotment of rain, and it'll be cold and miserable for the month of January and part of February. The end of February, it starts to warm up.
Okay. Well,
That's Texas.
well, there is. I don't know if you saw the thumbnail for tonight's show. I just simply said, what are we going to be talking about? And I just said the obvious because I didn't want to. I didn't want to taunt the YouTube gods, and I've been cautioned against this by a few people, and I think we can talk about this. Let's just make sure that nothing
at a high level.
Nothing we say should be construed by a reasonable person or even an unreasonable person as a call to violence. Okay, that's
no, and these are people's opinions, and need to be.
Yeah, let's just talk about what we want to talk about, and then the chips can fall where they may. Because what are they going to do to us? Right? I don't want to. I don't want to live my life looking over my shoulder all the time.
The one big thing that I would say, basically, what we're talking about is the fact that terrorists from the who are identified with the Hamas political party that basically controls Gaza and some of the surrounding areas, the surrounding communities around Gaza that are in southern Israel. They're not in Gaza. Gaza is no longer really part of Israel. It's a cordoned off area that you can't go in and out of. There are no Christians or Jews in Gaza anymore. It is a hotbed of Palestinian agitation as a result. So these guys sent fighters out that are generally identified with Hamas, and to just commit mayhem in 3 or 4 of the kibbutzes and at a festival in southern Israel. So these guys went in there and they just started machine gunning civilians. They just started killing people, and they killed hundreds. They killed a couple of hundred people. Not only that, they took people hostage. They killed a 70-year-old woman, filmed killing her. Some of the video that's coming out of there is real nightmare fuel. It's just absolutely awful. They are publicly torturing these Israeli women and children who they took prisoner, took as hostages, and the Israelis are not taking it easy on them. The Israelis feel like they are fully justified in, I happen to agree with them, retaliating. And they are going after, they have a lot of intelligence about where people who are identified with Hamas hang out, where they are in there, and they have taken the gloves off. They are sending in munitions. I watched about a 30-story building become a 4-story building, a 4-story pile of rubble.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I think that's proper. That they need to extract revenge, but they also have to force these people. They have to force Hamas to the table, and they've got to get world opinion on the Israeli side, because when you really go in there and examine the facts, what you see is a whole bunch of corrupt organizations vying for control for this clot of unfortunate, mostly Arab people who are caught betwixt and between. They're not Israeli citizens, and yet they live in that area. It's like an open air refugee camp, where they are concentrated. Israelis can't go in their own country. We take going anywhere in the United States we want to for granted. Yet the Israelis can't do that. Depending on your religion, if you cross into the wrong zone, it's a death sentence. I mean, driving your car down the wrong road means you die that day, 100% guaranteed.
Yeah,
100%. That's the kind of, and that's just erupted. That's what I think has happened. Plus, Hamas had themselves the idea, let's go kill us some Israelis, and I think this is really going to come back on them hard.
Yeah, I'm going to keep my comments until everybody's had a chance to talk, because I know that Functional is being very, very patient. But I'm going to ask you to be just a little bit more patient. While Serenity's audio is working and the animals aren't calling her away, did you want to chime in on this?
I just think it's interesting, the timing, considering of the fact that America was pushing Israel and to basically like y'all need to make a peace deal with Hamas and everything like that, considering the Saudi Arabia deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's very interesting how certain things are going down, but it's one of those things that
How much do you think
right
the
now
Saudis
until
care about the Palestinians?
yeah, but it's
How,
one of
how
those
much?
things. Where,
No, seriously, that's an honest question. How much do you think the Saudis care about the Palestinians? They don't give a shit. They regard
I know
them
they
as
don't.
human garbage.
And
Yeah.
neither
I know
do the
it-
Iranians who fund them and give them
Exactly
munitions.
right.
They don't
Exactly
care.
right.
They're just using them as fodder to
Pawns.
send them in.
But we're gonna
Yeah,
touch on this when we get to my my comments on it. So,
But-
go ahead.
but that it's just timing's interesting.
Mhm.
The fact that they weren't very happy with the fact that America was like, y'all need to get along, and they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna get along, and then all of a sudden this happens. It's like, I think in order to the numbers I've heard, which we're not going to know actual numbers for anything until weeks down the road, but like they were sending like 5,000 plus rockets at the Iron Dome. I don't give a damn how good your system is. There's a saturation point for every system. It's going to fail at that saturation
I
point.
saw the messages. I saw the missiles make it through the Iron Dome.
Yeah, I saw
because they were too numerous, and I saw them land and saw the damage that they did. I saw the buildings, the homes and the people inside them destroyed and on fire. It was
Entire
absolutely
neighborhoods are gone
yeah,
because one of those things lands.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
and
cheap to
that's-
make
and that's
too.
yeah, they're not that expensive, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like,
Well, they're not expensive when the United States basically gives them to you for free, but
No,
Well,
I mean,
they're-
the Iron Dome missiles they're missiles are actually pretty damn expensive, and Israel developed
I'm
a
not
lot of them
talking
pays
about the
themselves.
dome. I'm talking about the rockets being fired at.
yeah, he's talking about the one coming in, not that got through the
A
dome,
lot of
because-
these, they sorry again to interrupt. I've been doing research all day on what's going on,
Well, yeah,
trying
they
to
use
pick it apart.
oil pipe and stuff.
But a lot
water
of the
pipe.
munitions, a lot of the weaponry that it was left in Afghanistan made its way to certain neighboring countries, some of them being some places like Iran, who they have now seen through satellite imagery, there is mobilization in neighboring countries like Jordan, Egypt, and Iran. Nothing to suggest that they're aiming towards Israel, but there were some troop movements and some stuff being moved around, and they've tracked that, not tracked. They've hypothesized that some of the rockets that were fired can be directly linked back to munitions that were left by the states, but
Yeah,
it's supposition.
It
There's
is.
no
It is
hard evidence
supposition, and honestly, unless Ryan McBeath comes out and says, "Yeah, that looks like a HIMARS was just launched at Israel," I mean, I would just say try to remain skeptical, and the video will because a lot of the systems that we have, they do not fly like these homemade, buzz bombs that they basically have put together. The trajectory is completely different. They would be a lot harder to intercept.
It's a missile versus a rocket.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
the thing is like
A
also
missile is
Well, this is almost like World War II, was it
Munitions.
1930s, 1940s Germany stuff? It's almost like was it the V1 or the B1, the buzz bomb?
Okay, the buzz bomb was the B1. That actually made a particular sound. The motor would cut out. It would buzz. Then
Yeah,
you'd
'cause
hear
it's
the
a
motor
pulse-
come out,
it's a
and
pulse
it would
jet.
come in.
Yeah.
It's a pulse jet. And then the V2 rocket, you did not hear.
That was a
the
proper
terror-
rocket.
That was a proper rocket, and that was absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Because it was going faster than sound. Obviously, you did not hear it.
Good thing we had those people on our side. Thank you, Project Paperclip. Anyway, sorry, Functional.
no.
Yeah, go ahead. Continue to vent.
Well, it's not so much venting. It's just like I said, I'm presenting stuff as I've kind of picked it apart and kind of go, okay, well, this is kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting. So first, you mentioned that there were like current administration talks about peace in the Middle East, which we're kind of forgetting that the Abraham Accords did encompass this region, this specific conflict, as well as others. but those were ripped up when Biden got into office. So all that work that was starting, you could see that the buds were starting to sprout without any real roots taking root just yet. Like, sorry, I'm hearing some echo in my voice.
I'm hearing a little echo in your voice, but
it's okay. I'm just trying to get through this. And that also included, the countries I just mentioned, Iran, Egypt, Jordan, whatever, that surround Israel, to sort of keep them from doing anything and continuing to push this sort of anti-Israeli, push them into the sea agenda. Again, take some of that with grains of salt because it's all different things. Are we going to bring up the tweet that I linked you?
Wasn't planning on it. I don't mind.
We don't
doing
have
it,
to
though.
because I'm going to touch on it.
I mean, I can while you're talking. Just keep going.
It's a couple minutes long. It's just interesting to hear what somebody who lives there, who was a part of the military there, was sort of doing that on the boots on the ground reporting of firsthand stuff. And basically, she asked some really good questions. She's a former IDF intelligence officer.
I'm going to go ahead and post
she was she was in the intelligence department 25 years ago.
I'm going to post
I'm
going to post the link in the chat for anybody who wants to check it out later.
And some of the questions that she posits here in this video are some of the ones that immediately came to my mind. I'm thinking, okay, even though it's a high holiday, Israel typically heightens security, not lessens security, at the appropriate points, where we can actually see through the video of seeing some of these reported Hamas members, flooding into Israel, doing all these attacks, that they basically went through these air quotes high security areas with very little resistance. Mm-hmm. They did kill people, and
they really got caught with their pants down.
But exactly, and that's something that, thinking of what I know of the country, that multiple members of my family and some of my friends served in, and can tell me straight up, like, no, that sounds fishy. It's not enough to start going off the deep end with conspiracy theories, but it is a question you have to ask and say, why was this so, air quotes, easy? There are sensors underground so that they can't tunnel. There are constant surveillance from air, land, and sea. For them to be caught with their pants down, something isn't following right.
Part of the access, by the way, was through a tunnel.
Yeah, that's why my main point here, Skep, is my end belief is something isn't smelling right. I am no fan of Netanyahu. I fucking hate the guy, actually. So I wouldn't put it.
He's always spoken so highly of you.
Yeah. If you're going to use the FF phrase, please don't.
FF?
Yeah, I'm not going to spell it out. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't. But okay. I'm no fan of him as the political figure he is. It might come to me later, but I'm not going to say anything spicy. But I mean, for a military that has prided themselves for at least the last 50 years of being thank you, so ready to act and so immediate in their response, for them to be caught totally with their pants down and continuing to struggle with a live response, active response. It took them hours to start cordoning off and holding the attacks, sort of like while they're fighting the rockets incoming and dealing with damage control and all that. It just, something isn't smelling right here. And
well, we don't have enough information. So, we'll get more information. Things always become clearer over time on this stuff.
When in doubt, don't attribute malice for when incompetence can work.
It is the 50-year anniversary of the 6-Day War?
Yom Kippur War. Yeah,
Yom Kippur War. Thank you.
Yeah, where they weren't actually as prepared as they could have been.
Yeah.
That's why I was thinking when you were talking about them being prepared during the holidays. It's like I remember an extended tank battle that almost went very poorly for them.
No. I was specifically talking in recent,
yeah,
like last
that
2
was
decades.
that was a teachable moment for the
where-
Israelis.
where you had things like
they teach that one at military academies.
yeah.
oh wow.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
no,
I
yeah.
mean-
There's a lot to be
yeah,
taught.
they
That
do.
was an amazing. That's an amazing story. So many things came into play. A lot of luck, and because in some ways they well, it doesn't really matter. We don't need to talk about who had night vision gear and who didn't. Let's not get into that right now because I'm not an authority on that. I just find it to be really interesting. So,
I just thought it was funny. France got asked to by Hamas to tell the Israelis to stop.
oh, that's nice. So, my question is, cui bono? So, who benefits from all of this? Because Hamas is one branch of one political party in Gaza, right?
Well, no, it is dominant, utterly dominant in Gaza.
Okay, that was my question. So
Dictatorial.
so essentially they are a
PA is
strong
not
majority.
even there.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Fully.
I mean, they probably have more transgender people than they do opposition.
Truth.
Okay.
What Functional just said is absolutely accurate.
Okay. So, because I was sitting here trying to think about it, why would they suddenly decide to knock off now? And I was just thinking, who gains what from this? Because I don't really see a favorable end game here, but given what a brain trust Blinken is.
Oh, there's a favorable end game for Hamas.
Okay, what is it?
This is mischief making of the highest order. Basically what they do is they go out and get them a 12-pack full of hopeless 16-year-olds and 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds who have no future, no past, no future. Basically refugee camp kids, and tell them you get to go to heaven. Great stuff's going to happen. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go out and kill
Turn them
us
into
people,
zealots.
just like it says to do in the good book. This is exactly what's going on. Listen to me carefully. And then they go out. They do this big honking raid. They wait for Israel to hit back, and here's where they get the money. Because this is all about the money. And they say, Israel. They cry because Israel will hit them back. And they know that Israel will hit them back hard. And that even plays even more into their destructive mythology. It actually allows them to recruit more. Look at all these guys going to heaven. Come on, join the crowd. Bob and Abdul went last Tuesday.
Yeah, business is booming.
Business is booming, and
Taking off.
That's what this about. What this is about is just keeping keeping more and more pressure on Israel. They like it. They would like it if a real white right-wing party got into Israel's government, because what would happen is that would truly marginalize them internationally, and you'd have some heavy-duty international moves against Israel and for the Palestinians. That is what this is all about, is that kind of maneuvering.
And their
Basically-
allies are on the world stage perceptually. They're at their weakest they've been in memory.
Yep.
The United States, Canada, the UK. You look at them on the world stage and you're going, this is a joke. Why would they
Yep.
come to these people's aid when their entire countries are already being overrun? Fuck it, let's do it. They've got nothing to lose. You got it right on the nail of the head there, Skep. A lot of these people, and it's sad that they're in that situation that basically from birth they're being told these are the enemy, these are the enemy. These people treat us like dirt because of who we are and blah, 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 blah. But in reality, it's that self-perpetuating machine that's causing it. It's
Yep.
Yeah, I'm looking at chat. I'm looking at
gonna be very
Assassin of the
interesting to
Gray's
see
comment.
where this goes over the next few days, because that's
It-
going to
you
be.
know,
It's been going on for 1,200 years.
Yeah, I'm looking at
I mean,
looking at
it's-
chat. Assassin of the Gray's comment. When people are faced with relative peace for decades, they get complacent, and that I have to say that's sort of what That's sort of what I was thinking. I was thinking about the complacency and, Hamas as a money-raising organization. I posted a link from the Council on Foreign Relations to the Discord. And they basically say, well, where do they get their money? They get some relief stuff from international organizations, but Hamas itself gets money through private donations, is what they said. Nowhere. Now, we both know that there's lots of ways that if a particular government wanted to send money to them, they just basically give that money to individuals, and then it gets sent forward as private donations. I think there's probably a lot of soft state support for them amongst people who don't like Israel in the region. Not naming names because I can't prove any of this. This is just supposition. Serenity, you were going to say something, and then we have to move on to the next topic.
Well, I mean, Hamas is like... So there were always two kind of bullies in school. There's the bullies who just came at you directly, and there was the bullies who just kept poking at you and poking at you and poking at you and poking at you until you threw a punch at them, and then they would fall down crying while they were still making fun of you, so this way you'd get in trouble. That's basically what
It's like
Hamas
a bunch of
is.
Spanish soccer players.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah,
That's
they
right,
just sit there and they just keep poking and just keep
That's
poking
right.
because they want a reaction, and that's what it is. And it's like it's the double-edged sword of it, because if you give them the reaction, you give them the more room to do what they want, and it's just like you're screwed. It's a damned if you do, damned if you
Fucking
don't.
cry bullies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're the worst kind of bullies.
Okay, next thing, and this is not going to be a long thing. It's just I've had time to think about this a little bit more since the last time I spoke out on it. And I just kind of want to clarify my position a bit. We talked about the speaker battle in the House, right? And so all of the Democrats and 8 Republicans voted McCarthy out. And I know there were a lot of people that's like, he's just a stupid California Republican and he's terrible and he's what? Okay, fine. I don't object to Matt Gaetz and his crew deciding to do what they did because it's a stand on principle. My issue, which seems to be kind of mirrored by a number of other people who've had a chance to think about it, is he didn't really think about what happens next. We're in a kind of a bad situation. I mean, he's got principles, right? We're in a bad situation, but he did not think about what happens after that. He doesn't want the job. What does it look like? You teamed up with all of the Democrats, and then 8 Republicans kicked out the Republican speaker. Now what?
I don't like that phrasing, though. I don't like teaming up with the Democrats because
no, they literally did that. They literally did that. You can see pictures of Ilhan Omar standing behind Matt Gaetz smiling. Okay.
Well, she was checking out his ass.
Yeah.
That does look like that.
My objection is that they do not have a plan for what comes next.
But he knew that all those Democrats would vote yay because they're the opposition. Of course they're going to vote yay for whoever. It just means you're causing them problems. I think he did know exactly what he was getting into. And sure, it might be taking a step back from the progress they made in when they were having the debates on McCarthy taking up a position of Speaker of the House. But one of the big key concessions that Gaetz and the Freedom Caucus gave the rest of the Republican members of thing, the okay to let McCarthy in was we will give you this chance, but one call of no confidence, and we have the vote. It doesn't have to be a majority. And they agreed to that because they knew that they thought that they were going to just concede and be pushovers.
Question.
Yeah.
What was the vote? What was the thing that pushed them over?
Well, the thing
continuing
is, the
resolution.
thing that they're saying is the thing that made what's his name? That guy, Gaetz, call the vote was in the omnibus bill for their funding. They were not going to accept any funding whatsoever for
Ukraine.
Ukraine. He said that's a non-starter. If that's in it, we will not be on board with this. And McCarthy was reported in being very adamant that this is going to happen. And even Gaetz was on television and podcast saying, look, if you guys want to pass the essentials things to keep government open, blah, 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 blah. And then we'll talk about all these other things that you're cramming into the bill. Then we can go. We can pass that bill today. But what's happening is they're being the uniparty in that, no, they need to have funding for Ukraine because otherwise their entire scheme seems to fall apart. At least that's my commentary at the end.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But that's that's fine and good. But my point still stands about the. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on you, Serenity. My point still stands about the not having a plan. Now, if 2 weeks from now they have somebody who takes that position and all the Republicans vote them in and everything is great, I will happily admit that I was wrong and that Gates is a master strategist and that he did exactly the right thing at the right time. I am totally willing to admit in a couple weeks, if this all goes smoothly, that they get somebody better in to replace some speaker, that I was absolutely wrong. Jim Jordan or the other guy, or Scalise.
And
Hold
just
on.
quickly-
No.
Sure.
We have to go to Serenity because I just stomped on her, so she gets to go next, and then you. Sorry, go ahead, Serenity.
Well, okay. So we're assuming they have someone picked for a replacement. They just haven't announced it, right?
I'm not assuming anything.
Well,
I
there's-
don't think Gates thought it through at all.
Okay. Because if that's the case, I'm kind of with Harry. If you don't even have a replacement decided when you pull this shit, you're kind of dumb. If you're going to do this, you need to do this with a much better plan in place and know who's going to replace who. A power vacuum is not good, especially when things are the way they are right now.
Yeah.
I'm not the
Yeah, but
biggest
when
fan of
you
McCarthy.
can't do the one thing that, and I applaud Gates for standing on principle. If you cannot do the one thing that you agreed upon to get McCarthy in as speaker, to finally say, okay, I can be on board. We'll give this a trial. And there is Jim Jordan on camera back then when they were initially putting McCarthy up or deciding who would be up just before they picked McCarthy for the speaker position. Jim Jordan was like, I don't want the job. Not now, anyways.
Okay,
And so
but-
I think one, mark my words, like I will put money on this. It will be Jim Jordan. When you get the
Fine choice.
endorsement of Trump, when you get Jim Jordan's got a lot of that online appeal because a lot of his clips make it to the interwebs where people go, I like what this guy's saying. He says exactly what I want somebody in government to say without being.
But it's still right
Chat's
now,
on fire, by the way.
and Hamas and the thing going on in Israel right now is kind of goes with this. I understand standing on principle, but standing on principle also historically has gotten a lot of people fucked over.
Don't
So
care.
while I
I'd
can
rather
respect,
die on principle than
Well, it costs them a
And-
lot.
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's my issue is like, okay, he stood on principle. That's all
But-
well and good, but
Yep.
you can stand on principle and it still be on a box above manure. Like that's fine.
I wouldn't put it as drastically as that, but like I said, taking a step back or 2 steps back so that they have a better avenue to progress. And I think Chad is really on fire. Assassin was like, yeah, why would they just tell everyone their plan? Because you're basically telling your political opponents, your political rivals, dare I say your enemies, what your plans are. We'll see.
But at the same time, I am a filthy, dirty centrist. Yes, I understand this is political rivals, but it's kind of like I don't want Biden to fail and fuck up this country, even though I don't like him. I don't like some people on either side, and
Yeah.
while they are political rivals, there's a certain point you need to build a fucking bridge, get the motherfuck over it, and start working together instead of looking at each other as enemies. This screams, I am trying to make myself look better because I want to run for something later. Instead of, I want the world in this country to be better. Do I think Jim Jordan would be good? Yes, I absolutely do. I'm not disagreeing with anyone on that. But this feels more like he's trying to use it to get himself to look better. And while, he stood on principles, I don't care. when your principals hurt other people, I don't give a fuck. And that's my issue.
It doesn't seem very selfless, you know. It seems
that's my issue.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's you know, like this is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you. Yeah, okay, I've heard that before. But
yeah, and that's
you want to
like,
watch something? You want to see something fun? Go ahead, Serenity, and then I'll.
Well, I was about to say the last thing I'll say is like, and when you side with the very people that you belittle all the time, what principles do you actually stand on?
Yep. Well, you know, in a few weeks we're going to see how this all pans out, and then I will happily stand up here, and you know, if everything goes smoothly and Jim Jordan becomes the speaker and everything's awesome, I will admit that Matt Gaetz is a genius and I was wrong. So you've got my pledge on that.
I don't think it's not. I don't think it's going to be a cure-all. Obviously, there's still going to be a lot of.
Let's just wait and see. Let's just wait and see, because right now we're all just guessing. I just wanted to clarify for the chat that that's what my objection is. I don't actually object to him having a principled stand on this. And I'm not like a big booster for Kevin McCarthy. Although, I mean, I do think he was particularly good at raising money, which is not a thing to be undersold. But anyway, let's look at something fun. So I stumbled across this a while ago, and I wanted to bring these up. It's on the Phantasmagoric Tucker channel. It's AI artwork of Norman Rockwell Paints Modern America. And I just wanted to share some of these images, with you.
Oh,
can everybody see this?
Link, I did not see this.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay. Now I'm just okay. This is AI doing this. It's not my fault that AI is racist. It is not my fault. Don't get mad at me, YouTube. This one I love. I love this so much.
Oh.
And finally, this is all too relatable. Makes it far less good.
Yeah.
That's a Harry.
Yeah, that's me right there. Okay.
That's Harry.
What about this one? Welcome to California.
And New York City.
Yeah, they have that one. This is beautiful.
Hey, that milkshake looks good. That's all I care about.
How about this one? It's getting sad. It's getting sad.
Yeah, this is hurting.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, but I mean, it's hurting.
Yeah, it does kind of hurt. This is far too relatable. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, the Twitter channel Phantasmagoric Tucker.
88.
Yeah, good stuff.
And I don't know if you noticed, Serenity, but the basket of his scooter was also filled.
Oh, I know. I saw that too.
Yeah, okay.
They looked good too.
Ice cream is great stuff. I love ice cream. Mm-hmm. Well, let's see. Well, I mean, this is as smooth a segue as you could hopefully to run into.
Move over, kids. Migrants are taking over your neighborhood football field in Chicago in favor of a new shelter for illegal immigrants, and residents are outraged.
That's the simple solution.
Yeah, people in Chicago were pissed off because suddenly their sanctuary city is getting actual migrants.
They voted for it.
Their voting choices came back to bit them in the ass.
So this is one. This is like a 6-minute thing, and I'm not going to make you guys sit through this, but I wanted to also share this one. Outraged Chicago resident blames unfair migrant policies.
Let's bring in Mona Collins. Mona was at that emotional meeting in Chicago that we showed you moments ago.
Oh God, Mona, get better
thank
light,
you very
honey.
much
I
for
know.
joining us today. You know, what are your thoughts on this? You attended that meeting. You see
I
what's
can see
happening
what's
at
behind the
O'Hare
shadows.
Airport and these 23 shelters that are full. Tell us your perspective.
Okay, I'll just, so we don't have to listen to all of this. She's basically pissed off that there's all these migrants at O'Hare Airport, and that a park that her community likes to use is going to be turned into a migrant camp. I've never.
What's the problem with that?
The NIMBYism is so amazing. These people, it's so easy to talk about how you want to be compassionate and do all this stuff as long as it doesn't impact you in the slightest.
It doesn't cost you.
I mean, compared to what's going on in El Paso, these people are minimally inconvenienced.
Oh, yeah.
Minimally. Nothing compared to what's happening in El Paso.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, forget the human suffering of the people who are being exploited by the coyotes, moving them across the border, and all of the other stuff that's going on, all of the human suffering. But God forbid my park is taken away from. We're taxpayers. We're here in Chicago. Our parks are our parks. What are you thinking? I I don't know. I'm not really sure there's much to say about this. I just thought the NIMBYism was so bad that I needed to kind of call it out. I'm really enjoying all of these Democratic aldermen from Chicago showing up on Fox News lately. You would think that they would be on CNN or one of these other places. Oh, that's right. CNN doesn't really want to talk about this stuff.
You know,
Yeah.
that's a good point. I think this is going to lead to a snapback correction within the Democratic Party. I really expect that there is going to be, because I think this is going to cost them electorally.
Yep.
And the Democrats are very good at chastising portions of their party that cost them elections. They're much better at that than Republicans. If Republicans were half as good as Democrats, there'd never be another major Democratic victory in this country. But because Republicans are such complete assholes when it comes to putting their shoes on, basically, they can fuck up anything. And as bad as the Democrats are, the Republicans say, "We've got this. We can be as bad," and they are. To their credit, they're just as ineffective, inefficient, and stupidly self-serving, and obvious bunch of fucking liars. Not that I'm bitter.
No.
Well, I mean, it's just the whole fact that like it's kind of
about
like
the rant.
teenagers. Oh no, dude, I've ranted worse than you did. But it's the whole fact they're kind of like teenagers where, well, it's not my fault. Well, it is. You voted for it. But that's not my fault. Like, that's not what I meant. It doesn't matter what you meant. It matters what I meant. And you voted for what I meant. Well, I didn't read it. That's not my fault. That's your fault. Like, that's just what they keep doing. It's like you voted to be a sanctuary city. You all cheered it. I remember the videos. Like, when that happens, this is what you deal with. Hi, Spud. And it's
Hi,
just
Serenity.
Notorious SG.
Hi, Skep.
Yep. But it's that thing of like there has to be introspection that happens before
You would hope, yeah.
before I don't. It's not okay. Is it extrospection or just or retro? No, it's not. Well, no, introspection. Look at yourself and then looking out.
I thought
Yeah,
that's
whatever.
what you meant. Like,
Yeah.
looking out is
But
the
still, it's like the
the default.
They have to look at themselves. Go, we fucked up because we voted for the wrong thing because we didn't take the time to read it. It is partially this is our fault, and both parties do this. People in both parties do it. They don't want to take the blame, so they just blame everybody else. And whether that's going to lead to something good or not, time will tell. Because it's like Chicago had rampant crime under Beetlejuice, and then they voted for a guy who was worse than she was, instead of the guy who was actually pro-police and pro-cracking down on this stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
So
the Mayor
it's
Adams of New York is terrible, and Chicago's like, well,
Yeah.
hold my beer. I mean,
Yeah.
Exactly.
why would you want to win this contest of worst mayor for a major big city in America? It's just insane.
Yeah. And it's
and then
just one of those-
Philadelphia's like, wait, don't forget about me.
Well, Philadelphia's always been that way, though. I say that as I have family up in there, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like, it's like everybody saw what happened to Detroit and now is trying to make a speed run to beat Detroit. Like, that's what it kind of feels like, and it's just like, it's one of those things where it's, how do I explain this? It's like people who've been abused their entire lives, and instead of getting the help they need to try to get out of the abusive cycle, they just double down and make it worse.
You know that.
That's what it kind of feels like.
But to course correct, they would essentially have to admit that they've been wrong for several years.
Yeah.
And
And they're not
that
gonna
is
do that.
just that's too big an ask for a lot
Yep.
of these people, these morons on the far left. Because
Well, I'm
they're
hoping-
true believers, right? This isn't just a difference of opinion. This is a difference of ideology. This is their religion. And they're not going to just change because some inconvenient facts get in the way.
Yeah.
I think that the affiliation to the team is the religiosity aspect of it. I agree with Skep, and I hope too that a sort of realization, because let's face it, the regions that are under these types of stress now and are vocally crying out at every level of government have voted for this, federal all the way down to local. There has to be some kind of either course correction for the Democrats, because they will always have their, what we colloquially call their base. They will fanatically and always vote, what do you call it, blue?
Blue.
Down there?
Yeah.
Blue
Yeah.
down there, right. It's opposite of us.
Blue no matter
Vote
who.
blue no matter who kind of attitude. You would hope that you could either one of two outcomes. Either the party self-corrects and they get somebody in who doesn't just give empty promises, like Adams promised to be hard on crime in New York and has turned out to be just as soft as his predecessor, or there is a political reckoning in that, not violent, but in a political stage where the right, well-spoken opposition member comes in and says, look, I understand your concerns. Let's put that aside for now. Let's table everything that's immediate, everything that we need to fix now, and I can be your guy. And maybe they can start shifting the other way. But I hope it's the former, because I believe that for politics to be better, you have to have two strong, or multiple
At minimum,
strong forces vying for your attention, your vote, your support, because that way it tends to percolate the better ideas to come forward, rather than, well, I'm gonna just vote this party or that party, or without even thinking about it.
Yep. You always need somebody who's not afraid to tell you that your mullet looks stupid. That's why it's why you don't want to just surround yourself with people that will agree with you. Oh no, that mullet, that's just stunning and brave. That looks great. If that makes you, if you identify as a person with that haircut, that's totally no. You need somebody just go just start laughing. You go, what were you thinking? Yeah. And then you hold up the sign that says mistakes were made and you get a better haircut.
That's right.
Hi, Spud Gun.
Hi, Harry. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I guess you've been trying to get my attention for a while. And if I showed you what my whole screen looked like, you'd know why I didn't get to you earlier.
everyone else's computers would explode.
Do you want a piece of this before we move on? Because I do want to keep this show moving.
Very, very quickly.
Sure.
Basically, it's a con. Right, you've got basically, bust them into all these sanctuary cities. They're still coming in. The whole point of having a border is this far and no further. What's the point of drawing a line in the sand if you're not willing to defend that line in the sand?
Now, we're not talking about Israel anymore, okay? So this line in the sand talk is extremely provocative.
No.
Well, lines are racist.
Specifically.
Okay, go on.
Right.
Sorry.
As I mentioned to Spittle in the chat earlier, the whole Israel-Palestine couldn't care less. Absolutely don't care. Right, but with the US border issue, you've got your line, but you're still saying, this'll one up the blue team. Don't care. You're still letting them over the line.
Yeah.
What?
So I have a really, really dark thought. And people criticize places like San Francisco for having all of these homeless people. Most of those homeless people are not from San Francisco. We're basically giving them such a great deal. They're coming there from all over the country. Which creates nice, clean streets that you can now fill up with migrants. I almost feel like the fact that our streets are covered with all these homeless people is the only thing preventing them from busing huge numbers of migrants here, because we're already screwed up. We basically have ruined our cities to the point where they don't want to send migrant buses. I'm sure they'll show up tomorrow now that I've said that. But this way, everybody gets to have pain.
But I think your neck of the woods is the outlier, not the norm.
Oh, it's a self-inflicted wound. I know. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get on with that. Let's keep moving. Let's see what is next.
Very quickly before we move on, Harry.
Yes, sir.
Bill Hicks had the right idea. Arizona Bay.
Yeah, the thing about Bill Hicks is he was really successful in the UK. You guys totally understood what made him funny. And then he was not successful in the US, went to the UK, totally successful. And then he's like, oh, well, now I'm successful here. I can go back to the U.S. It's like, and then nobody gave a crap when he came home. That guy was so misunderstood during his own time.
Well, you're not going to like it.
Okay.
But as a general rule, the US doesn't understand sarcasm and satire.
Yeah.
As a general rule.
You may
I'm
be right.
making a very broad generalization.
But Mexican food is delicious.
I would say that that's a matter of perspective. You're coming at it from the country that is the best in the world at recognize that Spud gun. So you're going to look down the hill at everybody.
All right.
I believe the words we're looking for in that case is get good scrub.
Yeah, right. Well said.
Well, speaking, okay, so I'm gonna direct this mostly at Skep, and we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about this, but
sorry, Skep, I couldn't resist.
An ex-USC doctor was accused by hundreds of people of inappropriate behavior. Let's say he bad touched over 100 different people that came out of the woodwork. This guy, before his trial, decided to Epstein himself. Yeah, I know. We were all looking forward to there being a trial. Now, hundreds with an H. So I'm going to save you the trouble of listening to all this talking. There were a bunch of people that came out and said, but I wanted to get my day in court where I could talk about what a horrible piece of shit this guy was. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that he knew that, and that might be one of the reasons why he decided to remove himself from consideration for public humiliation.
But I recognize that these people are victims, and that's a terrible thing. They should get up to tell their story. But a lot of times, that's as much about just getting up and getting to feel important. That's really what they're after. It isn't some big liberating thing where they're suddenly out from under some big psychological trauma that he put them under. I don't believe that happens most of the time. I think most of the time, these are little people who just want to feel a little bit bigger.
Well,
but there's studies that have shown that it doesn't do anything for the psychological health of the people.
Yeah. We can't try him posthumously. Could we, Serenity? Could we? I mean, if we did, who would defend him?
we could execute him like they did. Cut his head off. Like
there you go.
Sorry, I'm being very interrupty today. So you're basically saying that studies show that there's no benefit to the mental health of the people standing up in court and essentially having their testimony be heard?
There is a short term of it makes them feel better, but then they realize that it doesn't actually change anything. It's the weird thing with trauma, that type of trauma, is that you spent so long convincing yourself first that if I keep quiet, it'll eventually go away. And then when stuff starts to come out, it's like, oh, well, other people come out, so if I say something, I'm now on the good side, and that'll make this pain go away or make the shame go away. And then it doesn't. And then it's like, well, then I'll take him to court, and then it doesn't, because either your accuser in this case is dead, or the person you're accusing is dead, or the person's so much of a sociopath that they don't care. So the tears and the fear and all this kind of stuff they expect to see isn't there. And then they get upset because it's like, you made me feel like crap, but I can't make you feel like crap. And then they get even more upset. And then there's some cases where they do the thing. Or, and that's kind of the problem. It's the whole thing of like confronting a bully. You build it up, well, not so much confronting a bully. The people who build their entire lives on spite, where one person said something and now they've built their entire life and career on spiting that person, and then they meet that person again years later and the person's like, who are you?
Yeah.
And they start to spiral. That's kind of the same thing. It can help for short-term closure, which can open the door for them to get their trauma taken care of, but it doesn't help in the long term. At least a lot of the studies I've read said that, but take that with what you will.
I sort of see this as the advertising brain in me going, why isn't anyone capitalizing on this and saying, like, media entity, Joe Rogan even, and say, hey, reach out to these people, say, hey, we'll let you air your grievances about this man. And that's millions of eyeballs watching that.
Yeah.
Speaking of eyeballs, functional, lay your eyeballs upon what I just displayed, and
Yeah.
all Dragon Age QA staff who formed Union laid off.
Yeah.
By the way, that previous
why?
story and this one are in a block I simply call "What Did You Expect?" That's the name of this. That's the block we're in. It's like, well, yeah. You know,
Your
I guess those
independent
QA people had them over a barrel temporarily, and then when the times got a little bit tough, well, that troublesome group that unionized, maybe they might be the first ones to lay off en masse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't seem particularly surprising.
That may not be legal if that's the sole criterion by which they're.
Well, they're having financial problems. They're having all sorts of problems. So they have an excuse.
No, it actually is not mitigating. It's
Not having money to pay them is not
in
mitigating?
labor law. Not in labor law. Not that it hasn't been mitigating since the 80s when I was studying.
Well, we look forward to their
That's when
lawsuits.
this stuff was-
No, being
yeah.
being unionized is not. You cannot performing a union that cannot play a part in the firing decision, and if it does, that is a breach of pretty much labor law everywhere.
Well, they
in
gotta
the
prove it first.
developed world.
They're not employees of the company though. They are
They're not.
independent
They're
contractors. I do this work all the time. In fact, I
Right. Okay. If
can
the
probably say
contract
this.
it's
I
different.
got an email this week from BioWare on a project they want to hire me for, and not job, but like independent contract for. And you know, it could be this, it could be something else that they're in development, because BioWare as a whole, as an entire company, is kind of in disarray right now, and they don't have any. They're not focusing on any specific projects. They're trying to get their house in order.
Yep.
And for contractors to come at them and say, "Hey, we formed a union," the company goes, "Okay, bye."
Well, wasn't it in the middle of a project too?
One of their projects, but again, their house is in such disarray that their big three flagship projects are kind of in limbo right now.
Well,
their
they're on hold.
biggest release in the last decade was
Andromeda?
just the What?
Was it Mass Effect Andromeda or no?
No, it was the Legendary Edition, the remaster of the
Yes,
old
that's what it
game.
was.
And for that to be their biggest sort of thing, they're yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, it's not.
That's a stopgap measure to make sure that they can keep operating, and they still haven't been able to put out anything really. Their
The
big
next
release
thing
before
is-
that was Andromeda, and that was
And it failed.
a horrible failure in terms of the video game market.
Yeah.
Well, if
The
the
next
facts are
project is
sorry,
Dreadwolf. Well, the next project is Dreadwolf, which is basically kind of sort of what that picture's talking
Yeah,
about.
new
And
IP.
Dreadwolf's not even before this wasn't slated to come out for another 2 to 5 years.
But
So they-
Serenity, they also have on deck. They also have the next Dragon Age. They also have the next Mass
That's what
Effect.
Dreadwolf is. That's what Dreadwolf is. Dreadwolf is Dragon Age. Dreadwolf, that's Solus' story.
Oh, that is? I thought this was
Yeah.
a new IP.
No,
Okay,
no,
my
no.
mistake. My mistake.
Oh no, you're good. You're
Well, then
good.
they do have a new IP that I don't know the name of that they've been teasing, and they
Yeah.
also have
The Mass
what
Effect
was-
sequel.
no. I already mentioned Mass Effect.
Okay.
It was the fifth one was what was that other game? Space game. It was an independent IP that came out. It was warmly
God.
regarded, but it was kind of just sort of left the.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name either.
It's not Star Citizen.
No.
Somebody in chat will remind us.
It's not
But
it's not No Man's Sky either. It's something.
No, but it's a game like that where you're a privateer in space and
Yeah.
you have your ships and you do RPG type stuff. And it was a decent enough new IP that it made them a bit of money, but then kind of they apparently
faded away.
let it rot and sit in a corner. So there's
Yep.
no focus. And when you're a big AAA studio like this, you have to be laser focused in putting out
Yeah.
a major directed title. Sink or swim, it doesn't matter. Dreadwolf, whether it became big or flopped, they still need to have the entirety or the majority of the studio behind it. They need to get advertising, social media, talking about it before they even release the trailers and stuff.
Oh yeah, and that's the
That's
problem.
what I'm saying about BioWare right now, and for the last 2 years at least that we've been able to get reports from inside the company that their house has kind of been in a little bit of wanderlust, disarray. You know, everybody's kind of like, you know, the people who are working on this project are, you know, working this way and that way, and nothing's coming together. And again, when you're in this type of industry, there has to be middle managers that use the different departments to talk to one another to see what's going on, so that they can put we hear a lot about the big crunch times, so that big crunch times can happen to squeeze out a release so that they can get everybody back else onto project B and C and D, and you know,
Yeah, they have a production
it doesn't
schedule.
bode well, because BioWare still does generally put out decent games.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask a favor
Frodo
of you,
was like the worst
Functional.
one, yeah.
Title.
Functional. If you hear about a labor action, because I think, you know, Skep may have foreshadowed, you know, what might end up happening, let me know so we can talk about it, because it's entirely possible that Skep's right and they're going to get their pee-pee whacked over this.
Yeah, and it might be that I get an NDA tomorrow, and
then we won't be talking about
anymore.
it.
But I mean, you know, I mean, it's the way the industry is. Again,
No,
as
just bring your consulting
engaged
contract
QA.
in, your consulting agreement in, and we'll just bring it up and go through it line by line. I'll let you know which parts of it look scary to me. Okay.
never work in the
I
industry
can take
again.
a look at it too.
Yeah, absolutely. So on a lighter note, Spud gun, Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Okay. So how about this? Taste testers deliver verdict on Coca-Cola's new AI-generated recipe.
Stop right there. It's going to taste like complete and utter monkey spunk.
A new Coca-Cola concoction created using artificial
Like, how do you know
intelligence
what monkey spunk
stumped
tastes
taste
like?
testers in the nation's capital as they tried to figure out the futuristic flavor, with some praising the pop while others letting their criticism out of the can. I think AI-generated Coke is better than human-tried and proven Coca-Cola, Emmanuel told Fox. This has something in it that makes me start drinking Coca-Cola. And then other people would drink it and start spitting it out because they just like, I don't know what this is and I don't like it. Do we really need this is a rhetorical question. Do we really need AI trying to figure out what cola should taste like? The obvious answer to this is no.
No.
And I just thought I'd present this. I'm not really sure we need to comment on it. I'm going to move on to the next thing. But I just wanted you to know there is an AI version of Coke. Super fast.
One little bit in here.
Because we're behind schedule.
Right, cola is supposed to taste like the coconut, I think it is.
Cola nut.
C-O-C-A.
Not coconut, cola nut.
Cola nut.
Cola nut.
Cola
Sorry.
nut. The cola nut.
No. So that's it. Right. Carry on.
Yep.
You know, you want to improve the recipe, ditch the fucking processed corn syrup crap and go back to sugar.
Okay. Actually,
sugar.
I have to pull something from my miscellaneous part of the spreadsheet. Okay. Sorry, it's related, I promise. This doughy trick to make deep fried Coke. This article was written by a moron. They're basically saying, well, you silly, you can't deep fry Coke, but basically you can replace the liquid in Coke with Coke. And in this recipe, they essentially say, take your Coke, put it on the stove and boil it until it goes down to becoming a syrup. And I'm sitting here thinking, you're an idiot. You can buy cola syrup. You don't have to do any of this.
Yeah.
You literally can buy 2 liters of
right.
actual cola syrup for $12. You could just
we call that post mix.
Okay, so there was an article that's been going around about the Chirp podcast of the Lotus Eaters.
The chirp.
What?
Well, essentially, if you try hard enough, you can forget about pretty much anything, right?
Yeah.
You can just forget about it. It's
Yeah.
Basically, it's about black people not being able to hear the chirp of the smoke alarm.
Oh,
when
the smoke
battery's
alarm
low.
thing. Yeah, I heard
Yeah.
that. I heard about that a while ago.
Yeah.
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 And it's pretty funny. They did a whole video of people not hearing the smoke alarm. I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, I saw that when it was went across on Instagram Reels of where they were like, "I am sorely offended," beep, and then they would just stare off to the side like, "God damn it!" And it was funny.
The hallway's always made that sound.
I do. Okay,
I get
it's
your humor,
hilarious. But God damn it, Spud. I will say I've noticed it's not just a certain demographic. It's quite pervasive.
Yeah.
My neighbor, I hear that thing chirp every fucking 5 minutes for the last 2 months. I'm about to go over there and just fucking smack her over the head and say, change your fucking battery. If you don't want to do it, I will fucking do it. Just change it. Call the super. The super will do it for you for free.
Yeah, the super do it too.
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious. I'm just amazed that people can play this thing and just not hear it. It's as if over time they can't hear the noise at all. I mean, you'll even say, "Do you hear that noise?" And it's like, "No, I don't hear the noise. What are you talking about?" And it's like, it's the hallway chirp. The ceiling bird is just making noise. That's like, but which I guess just sort of shows that you can get used to anything if you give it time, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now, I find that people from New York seem to be largely unaffected by rats. Now, I had to deal with like Nigel, and that pretty much just caused my whole world to come unhinged, right?
Yeah, it did.
But look at these people.
Time.
Wedding crashers, Brooklyn rats
Holy
stowaway
hell.
on car hood.
I just got to way upstate, and I brought a fucking rat with me from Brooklyn. Holy shit.
Brooklyn rat.
Where'd it go?
You just killed.
Okay.
You just killed that ecosystem there, asshole. Way to go.
Now look at these people are largely unaffected.
Yeah. I don't know where it
It's
went.
like
Just don't eat my...
it's like it doesn't particularly bother them. I'm so squidged out by them. I just want to get 100 feet away and use an electric thing to kill them off. And then I remembered there's a place in India, which is the Karni Mata Temple, which is the rat temple of Rajasthan. And they literally have hundreds of, Shemp, they have hundreds of rats that basically live there. They feed them and run around, and they go there and they actually worship them. You can go there and eat lunch amongst all the rat feces and stuff. And this is not me being judgmental about this. It's like, fine, you want to do this, that's totally fine. But the levels of not caring are kind of inconceivable to me. I find one Nigel to be more than I can cope with. I can't imagine having lunch amongst the Nigels. This just seems to be
unpleasant.
Yeah, this just
That's
does
just
not seem
unpleasant.
like a good idea. I mean, clearly this guy's not bothered by it.
I would bet that the gut coliform that he has and the mice in that area are very similar.
Yeah.
Sad to say.
Anyway, I guess you can get used to anything, right, Skep? You can just decide that with enough exposure that you just don't know or don't even care.
Yeah.
Here's something.
Yeah.
Right. Where I used to live growing up, there was a railway line, and there used to be, I think, 3 or 4 trains an hour. I can't remember now. It's 40 years ago. And when I moved out, it was the lack of the trains that I noticed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was just, I'd sort
You were
of
saying-
grown up with them. And
Yeah.
Well,
you miss it when you move away. But what are you saying here?
well, I was just going to say that you just gave me a beautiful segue to the next thing. It's as if you can see my spreadsheet. There is a rapid transit system in Central California called BART, which basically goes from the East Bay into San Francisco and then down the other side of the peninsula. And they've been saying that they were going to bring BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit, into downtown San Jose like forever. It's not going to take them 10 years.
Since I lived there in 1970.
Yeah, it's not just going to take 10 years to build a station. It's going to take an additional 10 years to build a station. In the meantime, they are collecting money hand over fist
Of course they are.
to support this thing. In fact, all of the transportation taxes total almost 2%, of which a big chunk of that goes to BART to try to bring it down to this thing. So they're talking about in Santa Clara County. With Measure B, county residents pay for 4 transportation sales taxes. 4. Totaling 1.625% levy. So 1.625% is added to every single thing you buy except for food. And they're going to add another 0.125% to basically handle the Caltrain rail service.
Do you know what that's doing? That's like printing money.
Okay, well, I've got your. It is like, because I've read their report where they were talking. Well, they put out bonds, right? And then so
You're robbing
Fitch
buying power from individuals.
Well, they were putting out bonds to basically pay for more of this because this wasn't enough money for them. And so they went to Fitch to get a rating on their bonds. And I read part of the document and they said, oh, well, we've got a guaranteed revenue source with this sales tax that we're charging in perpetuity. So we'll be able to pay off those bonds. They're AA rated by Fitch. But this is a thing that I stumbled across, which I had no idea about. BART supposedly has.
They're revenue bonds.
Yeah.
Which means that if something bad happens to that little tax that's supporting them, those bonds will go into default instantaneously.
There's nothing going to happen to that tax.
Yeah, it can get repurposed. This tax still exists, but it doesn't pay for that anymore.
Oh, no.
It pays for this other appropriation.
They're literally taking money that's appropriated for other things and moving it into BART. In fact, Measure D said they were supposed to cap the BART stuff at 25%, and they've gone back and said, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to use this other money for BART, and we'll balance the books on the other things later. But BART has an inspector general, but it turns out it's not an inspector general in the way that Skep and I would know of one. This inspector general doesn't really have permission to look at anything anywhere. This one doesn't have any ability to inflict any sort of pain. It's just whoever the BART directors let them look to, this inspector general can talk to them maybe if they feel like it. And in fact, they regularly...
The person whose job it is to sign the inspections. That say
yes, yeah. It's somebody who's actually qualified with a background, that you would expect to do the kind of accounting stuff. And she's not actually allowed to do her job in any meaningful sense. This is not an inspector general. An inspector general is a whole different animal. This is in name only. So screw these people.
This is graft.
Yeah.
This is nothing but graft.
Yeah. But
California.
Let's make more fun of California. But Serenity wants to say something, and then we're going to move.
Oh, no, this is right up there with the stupid mother effers down in Los Angeles County who were like, yeah, the mansion tax will get us so much money, and they haven't even hit close to what they have to hit.
Oh, yeah, that's totally imploding.
By the end of the year.
That's totally imploding.
And it's like, you guys are morons.
Well, there's a scene from the movie Annie Hall, which is a Woody Allen thing that won Academy Awards and all that sort of stuff, which makes a key point about the difference between New York and California.
Right, Max. California, Max. We get the hell out of this crazy city. Forget it, Max. We moved to sunny LA. All of show business is out there, Max.
Sorry about the audio.
You keep bringing it up, but I don't want to live in a city where the only cultural advantage is that you can make a right turn on a red light.
Right. Okay, so on that note, San Francisco Soup's calling for banning right turns on red citywide. By the way, whose ceiling bird just went off?
Was that you, Harry?
Way to go,
wasn't
Harry.
me.
Way to go.
Wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
Who needs to replace the battery in their smoke detector?
I'm not that close to my smoke detector.
It was not me.
I don't have one.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm inside an office that does not have a smoke detector.
Okay, that's hilarious. Yeah, so I still remember when I was... Okay, it happened again. Okay, stop doing what you're doing, Spud. I know that's you.
No, it's not me. Not me.
That's functional.
That's functional.
Move on.
Okay, thank you. That's very funny. You know, I have a theory about the ceiling bird. My theory is not going to make any friends. I don't think it has anything to do with the amount of melanin in your skin. I think it's multi-generational fatherlessness. Because if you had a father or a grandfather, one of them would tell you to change the battery in your smoke detector.
Right.
There's no way that any father or grandfather would let you get away with that shit. You are not just dealing with fatherlessness, you're dealing with multi-generational fatherlessness.
Yes.
And it's like a sixth sense too. It's like that scene from Family Guy where Meg touches the thermostat, just touches it, and like Peter runs in. Who touched the thermostat? And like all the neighborhood dads come in. Somebody touching the thermostat over here? You know, it's just like it's just something that like as soon as you hear that chirp, you're changing it. Some people actively change it, you know, every quarter or whatever. But you know, I hear it chirp, I change it. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, San Francisco is a terrible city to drive in. Absolutely terrible. Leave the homeless, crazy people out of it. It's just not a place that's fun to drive in. A lot of one-way streets, a lot of restrictions on which way you can turn anyway. And now to essentially say that you wouldn't be able to turn right on a red light in any part of San Francisco, you're taking a town that's already impossible to get through without just, becoming homicidal by the time you're exiting. You're like, thank God I'm on the Golden Gate Bridge. Finally, I'm out of that hellhole.
So they're taking a page out of Montreal.
What is it supposed to fix? Is it like
It's supposed to be a safety thing because I guess some people got injured by cars turning right on red lights, like people on bicycles or something. Everything's safety, right? It's always either the safety or protecting the children, one or the other.
Homeless people are getting taken out by cars turning right on red lights because they're stoned, they're on drugs, and this is a ploy to get motorists to be more sensitive to the fact that there may be people in the roadway who are impaired. So no quick turns to the right, and
I was thinking
all traffic moving at the same direction at the same time.
I was thinking we
Wouldn't
just trying
that
to do
just be
insurance
cleaning
fraud.
up the trash?
Yeah. What is the point of this? Yet another reason to not address the crime. Yeah. They have to appear like they're doing something, right? The city council, they're not willing to do any of the things they're supposed to do, so they waste their time with this self-pleasure exercise that they're involved in. Anyway, enough about San Francisco.
They did this many years ago in Montreal, and it's still there, and it's still awful.
Yeah. That's pretty terrible.
Oh, God, Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons. I'm helping.
Well, let's see. Where are we in terms of the show? Well, let me skip over these last two things because they're just going to make me angrier. Or maybe we should talk about something from the miscellaneous pile. Hey.
Well, understand, if you're going to focus anything at me, I'm going to be going to take care of the dogs in 5 minutes. So.
Okay.
Just giving you a warning.
All right. Well, how about this? Hey, Functional, you thought about getting a laptop? How about one with essentially a 24-inch portable computer? Does that look like a thing you'd want? The HP wireless all-in-one 83 watt-hour rechargeable battery with handle for portable. Because, you really need a 24-inch portable computer with a handle. Because this is not fun.
It's a very niche market, but I do know people who would really like this, especially some of my graphic artist friends. Yeah. Certain gamer friends who like to go around and, whatever. Elwin would love this. But I mean, as a desktop user, as a PC user, no, not really.
Well, Skep knows what
Apple didn't.
I mean, 24 inch at 9 pounds. Like that's good.
pretty light.
Yeah. But I'm amazed Apple didn't come up with it first.
Well, I mean, back when I had to lug computers around, I remember lugging around like a compact PC. It was like a 286 PCAT thing with like I think it had like a 5-inch screen.
With a 100-pound CRT monitor?
Orange or green?
On the screen for the phosphor?
Yeah.
Green.
Yeah, green. Yeah,
or was it orange? I don't remember. It's been a long time.
You could get it in either one, but you had to specify when you ordered it. I was a dealer for compact for a while.
Did you ever see those IBM terminals? It was basically like this huge terminal, but it was 4 terminals in one, so you got 4 quadrants. And that damn thing was like $50,000 or $60,000, and it just literally it was literally run 4 serial connections into it.
Right.
I forget.
It was divided up the screen 4 ways.
Yeah, that's like there's your hyperconvergence for you. That's good.
Who needs the internet?
Yeah, who needs the internet? Let's see. I was also thinking about culturally diverse fairy tales. I was going to make a game where we'd come up with them, but it looks like people have already sort of made made them, and I didn't have to even think about it at all.
Ghanaian Goldilocks.
The Princess and the Pea, the Ghanaian Goldilocks. That looks like a really good one. There's the Little Mermaid. This is from years before the thing even came out. Yeah, I love this Hansel and Gretel. It looks very traditional.
Yeah, you can tell they're traditional Germans.
Yeah. The little red fort. Cinderella,
What's like,
Rapunzel. Rapunzel looks that looks like a European fairy tale, doesn't it?
Well, to be fair, a lot of these stories, there's similar ones in other countries. Like I remember I read, my grandmother bought me one that was the kind of sort of the Chinese version of Little Red Riding Hood. It's called Lan Po Po, and it's a little bit like, but it's their kind of version of
But
it.
tell that story then.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
get you. But the thing is, like, Snow White is a Chinese fairy tale. It started out in China.
Okay.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, no, it has origins all the way back in China, long before the one in the European Union, Europe.
Well, there's the history
right?
of
I
that
didn't know
story.
that.
Yeah.
Or there's
I didn't know
it's
that
like
Snow
it's
White-
like Gilgamesh and Noah's Ark. There's versions that predate other versions that are very, very similar to a certain story. There's China has a Snow White version. They have a Cinderella, and
Well,
there's
what we
another one I
heard
can't
was
remember what it
that
is.
the original Snow White was taken from Grimm's fairy tale, written by the Brothers Grimm's in the 1800s. And
They wrote one of
They
them.
wrote a lot of Grimm's fairy tales in 1812. That's what it was, which features the tale of Snow White as story number 53.
Yeah, Sora's saying I would honestly have loved these books, but wouldn't it be nice just to have like a whole different story? I mean, why not have more stuff?
Well, the thing is, I don't understand why it's Kahanian Goldilocks. That's the thing that confuses me.
I don't know. I guess she should maybe
I do
rinse
not
her
know
hair
what
better
it
when
is.
she gets out of the pool.
On a slight tangent, I do not know what it is, the obsession with African Americans in Ghana when most of them have no blood that comes from Ghana. Maybe it's
Yeah.
the pretty colors. I don't know.
Let's just treat that as a rhetorical question.
I don't.
Funny, functional. Hey, I don't know if this is real or not, but first page in physics book in Pakistan. Let's see what it has. Does this look legit to you? What is physics?
Ooh, teaching of Islam and science. Oh boy.
Yeah. So basically, Allah created the universe billions of years ago with a single word B, and at once it came into being. Okay, already it's not reading like any physics book I've ever read.
I've read a lot. I spent a year and a half going to Islamic prayer meetings. I've read a lot of their propaganda, frankly.
Yeah, but I was going to say, how do they get anything done? And now I'm thinking of all the social justice crap they're introducing into our physics and math classes, and it's like, I guess the same way we do now.
Yeah, no. Human being is the best creature of Allah in this world. No, this is not anything approaching.
Seems like defective workmanship to me.
This is one of those things that says, let's explain the world to you. Here in this pamphlet that ends up saying you have to give your soul to Allah. I mean, and there is just a ton of literature. You are awash in that literature. You walk out with 4 pamphlets with, explaining to you about the miracle of Islam and worshiping their prophet.
Yeah.
Where you worship Allah, you follow the dictates of the prophet.
Yeah, heat burns things and destroys their identity. No, this is not science.
When do we get to the splody bits?
This is bullshit.
You mean in the I
the
mean the
infidels.
subatomic
It's
splody bits, or
it's
No,
chapter,
just-
it's Surah 9 if you want to know which chapter it is in the Quran. That's where you go look.
I just want science to be separate from politics, separate from everything. I know that's naive. I know the movie Oppenheimer pretty much covered this topic, but I want it to be just antiseptically isolated from all this stuff. I don't want politics and religion and all this other crap in my math class or my physics class.
Because that's not the place for that.
It's
Math
not the
and
place for
physics
it.
Are supposed to be pure. Chemistry is supposed to be pure.
In physics, you talk
Stay
about the chain
fuck out of
reaction.
my chemistry lab.
Yeah, in physics, you talk about the chain reaction. In politics, you talk about why you don't want it to happen.
Right.
Don't just, keep these. They're differing magisteria. Don't even, put them on top of each other. So let me see. Where are we in the show?
Harry, the matter of rounding pi to 3 came up.
Yeah, exactly. So
can I just ask
sure.
Game of Valine very quickly? The P3, the Orion, the command and control plane.
Oh, hi, Gamer Valine.
Yeah, also could fulfill an anti-submarine role. People didn't know that, but it could assist in E2 Hawkeye, and did many times in sub hunting.
You know, I'm just saying, Valine popped her head into chat. The ceiling bird started chirping. Not going to make any accusations here, but...
Yeah, well, speaking of people who aren't good at math, at more than 200 Maryland public schools, 5% or fewer students scored proficient in math. Not only did this happen, but they found ways to essentially hide those statistics in what they published behind a bunch of asterisks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Maryland
when the parents
schools.
Found out they were livid.
Yeah, as well they should have been.
Be. Yeah.
Let's talk about Airbnb. Okay, so the city of New York has decided that they're going to crack down on Airbnb.
Morning, New York is going to begin enforcing a new law that regulates Airbnb rentals in New York. It happens today, and some say it could amount to an effective ban on short-term rentals. Robert Frank joins us now with the latest. What's going on here?
Yeah, essentially, they're trying to make short-term rentals just not happen. So you can either rent your house out sort of in the more traditional way, or you can become a hotel. But the short-term rentals with Airbnb, they're not having any of it. They've decided they're going to crack down on it. Now, I'm generally not in favor of the government getting involved in a lot of this stuff. I do know people who... I have a friend who is on the board of the residence thing. It's kind of like an HOA for this big apartment building that he's in. And they've had all sorts of trouble with people renting out their stuff for Airbnb. It's actually prohibited by their homeowners thing. And it's because of the way the parking works and all the facilities and stuff. It isn't really set up for just randos showing up trying to be there. So they have a reason for doing it. But the government coming in and trying to crack down on it, it really just seems like they're salty about the fact that they're not getting the hotel tax. It's really just about them not controlling it and not getting a bit of money.
Exactly.
So New York is saying we don't want any short-term Airbnb stuff. Okay. We only want, longer-term sort of rentals. Well, that's fine until this happens. This is in L.A.
You might call it a house guest nightmare. A woman rented out a guest home in one of L.A.'s poshest neighborhoods, but refuses to leave. New at 5 o'clock, Eyewitness News reporter Christian Cordero explains why the homeowner cannot force her to leave.
In Brentwood's hillside sits a community eye level with the Getty Center, whose neighbors include LeBron James and Fergie. But the resident everyone seems to be talking about today lives here for free.
My husband yesterday was outside and some guy...
She's been there for 17 months. It started out as an Airbnb rental for 4 months. And when it was time to sort of extend it, there were some repairs that needed to be made, and conversation went sort of downhill. And this woman essentially decided that she didn't feel like leaving. Now, it's fallen into this weird sort of loophole where he didn't actually have the right permits to do a rental, and some of the work that was done on this unit wasn't permitted in terms of adding a bathroom and a few other things. So because he doesn't have a permit for the bathroom, they're essentially saying he has no legal basis to rent it, therefore no legal basis to evict her. 17 months of living in a place for free where, she's essentially neighbors with LeBron James.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, if there's no legal basis for the rental agreement, for the renting, for him to rent, for the renting of, then there's no contract, therefore it should all be rolled back to the beginning.
Yeah. I was confused about this as well, so I dug a little bit deeper. And found this. Okay, so her name is Elizabeth Hirschhorn, and before this, she lived in an Oakland rental where she essentially overstayed her welcome and refused to leave too. She's basically a serial squatter who just goes from place to place.
So this is a squatter.
Now, you'd think that, she's probably some low-class individual, whatever. No, This is a picture of her at her Harvard reunion, where she's hanging out with some of her other Harvard friends. She's apparently very well educated, connected, all that sort of stuff, and she just does this because she can get away with it. Clearly just a little bit of a sociopath, right? So she's doing this because she can, and she's using every claim in the world, like that she has multiple chemical sensitivity, so she can't leave and go to a hotel. She
chemical
is
sensitivity.
Yeah, but yeah, like formaldehydes and things.
But wouldn't find the body.
Yeah, well, I mean,
she's just taking advantage of everything she can.
Yeah, COVID-19, she tried to pull that too, that it wouldn't be safe for her to leave during COVID, so she's just going to stay here.
Gaming the system like
no,
master.
she's mental.
Yep.
She's mentally ill.
Yeah.
This woman is mentally ill. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.
I just think she's a
Has
sociopath.
significant mental pathology.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I think she's masterfully been gaming the system. That
She's high functioning.
Yeah, well, I have some support for Functional's position.
From being crazy.
One more piece of information. One more piece of information. She has said that she will leave if he gives her $100,000.
There we go.
We go.
Yeah.
Now, the guy who owns this house, and this outbuilding thing is actually some douchebag, high-profile dentist down here. And so just running his high-end dental practice to the stars, he essentially was able to buy this $3.5 million house several years ago. Now it's worth quite a bit more.
She, in doing that, in setting her price at $100,000, she just said to him...
The dentist guy is... Yeah, I just thought it was funny. This woman's working the system, and it's not like the kind of squatters, I'm used to. I'm not, usually when I see these squatters, I don't see people that are Harvard graduates doing this sort of thing.
My son rents a bunch of places that he's flipped and now owns and rents them out. And he is just done with renters. And he's run into one example of somebody who was, shall we say, reluctant to leave, and had to jump through hoops to get that accomplished. It's a costly thing. Anyway, it's to the point where it's driven him out of the business. He's selling his properties.
Yep. Understood. So, Functional. Is Functional still here?
Yeah.
Okay. I know how much
I looked at the microphone as if you could see me.
I know how much you love chunk yogurt. So this is Vosh leaks while streamer White House collaboration was canceled.
No, cultivated thing. I heard there was supposed to be an event at the White House that got canceled. Also heard that Hassan was somehow involved. Oh man, I'm like actually angry about this one. Okay. I did get to meet with some White House staffers outside of the White House, and that was pretty fun. But there was a White House event that was planned where
Are there any horses?
we were going to go.
I don't know. This was outside the White House, so I suppose it's theoretically possible.
And get an influencer tour and meet with staffers in the White House. And apparently, I don't know this for sure, but apparently one of the people who was supposed to be there was Hassan, and the whole thing got canceled because it was thrown into suspicion when Hassan's recent comments on letting China take Taiwan made their way up the chain.
Yeah, it's as if compared to your government, they look at image first and they do like the first security screening, and then they actually go, well, maybe we should look at some of the things these people have actually said. And when you look at a lot of these influencers, there's going to be at least one thing that's politically untenable in almost anything that Vosh or Hassan or any of these people have said at one point. How would it even be possible for like these kind of influencers to be simpatico enough with the White House? No wonder they keep bringing all these nobodies in to do these PR events, or these people who only talk about like LGBTQIAAP issues. Anybody who talks about politics for long enough is going to have something they disagree with them about. And that's why these kinds of collaborations are difficult. Your government should actually try this too. Like, hey, during World War II, what side was this guy fighting with? Yeah. Because I still think it's hilarious that you had one of those German guys.
Oopsie moments.
One of those oopsie moments where you were basically, doing this hagiography of this German. No, I guess he was Ukrainian, but
he was Ukrainian. He was fighting for Ukrainian independence against the.
Yeah, our enemy at the time was Russia. No, it wasn't. That was our ally at the time. You idiots.
And watching the speaker as he's trying to get these words out of his mouth from the prepared document in front of him was so heartbreaking for me to watch, because you can pinpoint the exact moment he goes in his inner monologue goes, wait, what the fuck am I reading?
Yeah.
And oh boy. Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing to vet these people. My hat's off to your government, I guess, for at least.
Well, I mean, if it wasn't the China-Taiwan comment, it would have been his rage about it was him screaming about how America deserved 9/11.
9/11.
Yeah, just pick a thing.
Yeah. Sun ain't the brightest bulb.
No, which is why you just have to get these people that are just not political. Maybe they're doing something socially edgy, but you can't bring anybody political in unless they're just a weather vane. And even then, you're going to be wrong in past tense. Hindsight, you're going to be wrong. I don't know. I just why do I have to listen to Vosh to find any of this stuff out? So there was a.
Hang on.
Oh, go ahead.
Why would anybody go to Vosh for anything?
Because he has an audience. Yeah. That's all they're thinking is it's guerrilla marketing 101. If you can basically use these people's audience and make them your audience, they become a force multiplier. You talk to one person, they talk to 10 million people. That's all it is. Just a numbers game.
Jesus, I'd rather put me testes in a bloody shredder.
I think Vosh is into that. I'd be careful.
Polish me nutsack with an industrial belt sander.
Well, who's like a big influencer in the UK? Who has like a big audience as an influencer in the UK?
Zuby?
Is he the guy that keeps breaking into people's houses and stealing their dogs and stuff? Is that that guy?
No. Zuby's Mr. Base Black Man. What if we
that guy,
trigonometry guys?
Are they big influencers?
It's KSI is the biggest one in the UK. KSI.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think he's talking about overall influencers.
Yeah, I'm talking about overall influencers. So you think if Sunak could just call in that person, KSI, and have a little chat with them to get the message across on something that they wouldn't do it? Of course they would.
Oh, the KSI and there's Speedman or something like that is his crew. I think is what they're called.
I mean, what do I know? I was just going to say Emma Blackery, which gives you an idea of how far out of touch I am.
God, that's a long time ago, Harry. Jesus.
It's like 2014.
Damn.
Well, what was it? The BBC fired. What's his name?
Name one. They fired a bunch of people. Piers Morgan and different people.
Oh, did they?
I don't know. Didn't he get moved over to some other thing?
He was fired for a point, and then he got rehired.
Oh, yeah. Well, between GB News and Channel 4 and BBC, it's kind of hard to keep track of all of them.
Maybe it was GB News.
It may have been GB News, bud.
Yeah. But anyway, a thing happened which... Yeah, he's back. Okay. So a thing happened which makes my head hurt. Maybe one of you can explain this to me. Doctors disconnect half of Southern California 6-year-old's brain in life-changing surgery.
Okay.
Yeah.
A local 6-year-old girl with a rare brain disease has had surgery to disconnect.
I've got an idea of what this is. Basically, they've disconnected the bridge, haven't they?
Yep.
The hemispherical bridge.
Yep.
So they're
that's the
make her
how.
a Democrat?
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean she could probably go. Full on socialist with
Green
this
Party.
Yeah.
No, basically all it
Circle
does,
of Health reporter Denise Dodor has the details, including how now the little girl will
But
be
yes,
able
they
to live a
clipped the
full
connection
life
between the
with
hemispheres.
just half her brain.
You have a headache?
6-year-old Brianna Bodley tries not to move that much when she answers.
Show me where your head hurts.
The stitches still fresh after pediatric neurosurgeon Dr. Aaron Robeson at Loma Linda University Health meticulously took 10 hours to disconnect half of her brain.
After surgery, her entire left side of her body is turned off.
Last year, Brianna was diagnosed with Rasmussen's encephalitis, a rare chronic inflammatory disease that affects about 500 children in the U.S. every year. I'm sorry! A young girl who used to love singing, dancing, and reading had daily debilitating seizures that would eventually lead to learning disabilities and paralysis.
Her leg would bend up all the time and she would have trouble walking.
As the seizures.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And you think about what's happened with people with strokes, recovering from strokes, gunshots, and things like that. Losing an entire hemisphere of your brain, that sounds terrible.
It was the only way to stop. It's the only way to stop the seizures.
Yeah, I get that, but that seems like a pretty extreme treatment. I mean, they were giving her a bunch of steroids and a bunch of other things trying to control it, which is why she looked as puffy as she did, right? Because there's a big difference between her before the diagnosis and after the treatment and stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I'm trying to. I mean, from what I know about the brain, which is not a lot, but it's not nothing. Losing an entire hemisphere, between memory and coordination, a lot of the motor stuff will just rewire. The brain's very adaptable. We know this from brain injury, that the brain can rewire. She's going to get access to that motor function again. But the way in which she forms memory, recalls, she's going to be significantly different for the rest of her life. I mean, I guess she gets a life, but man, losing half your brain, that's rough.
And I can definitely empathize with the parents and how far would you go to have, another year, 10 years, 15 years with your child, or watch them get to a point where their body is working so aggressively against them that one day she has a seizure and just done.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Rasmussen's. It's bad, man. I knew a kid growing up who had Rasmussen's. It wasn't pretty.
Yeah, it's very, very aggressive on the body, and for somebody so young to have to go
They're
through
trying to buy time for this girl. They're
Yeah.
not trying to give this girl a life. She's not going to live to be 30. They want her to live to be 20. This is a cystic fibrosis kind of a thing.
Well, the thing is like everything
that makes more sense.
Well, the thing is that if you look at a lot of the articles, for the most part, it's going to not completely repair itself, but she's young enough that it's going to do a lot of good. And
what if
at
the
least
lesion?
as of
What
right,
if the lesions will eventually invade the healthy part of the brain? That's the way this disease works.
Yeah, because it's an encephalopathy, and basically it's where for want of a better way of putting it, the brain kind of eats holes into itself. So
it just gets worse on one side before it happens.
Yeah.
But it is a defect. It's actually a long chain of chemical defects that make this happen.
Well, it makes more sense to me that they would do this if really they know she's not going to live a very long time, and they're just trying to buy her some peace for like 5 or 6 years.
This is a great move. Yeah, I'm all about this.
Okay, that makes more sense because I was trying to imagine, a 70-year life with half of your brain being missing. That just doesn't. There's just too much there that you're losing. But if it's just
You'll
something
be lucky to be ambulatory for 5 years.
Oh man.
Right? Can I just? I'm just looking on Wiki because it.
Well, hold that thought for just a moment. Hold that thought for just a moment. I think Serenity, you said you knew somebody who had this.
when I was younger, it was back when I lived in Virginia, though, so I don't know what happened to him.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe if you knew the outcome that might be useful information. All right, so go ahead, Spud.
Yeah. Okay. So it's in Rasmussen's, it's a chronic inflammation of the brain with infiltration of T lymphocytes into the brain tissue. It affects this actually, right? I think I know where they're going with the severing the link.
Yeah, the lymphocytes are attacking the inside.
Yeah, but
and that's where you're getting the sponge.
It attacks one half of the brain, either left or right. So I think what they're going for is basically cut one half of the brain off and hope that
But
that
the
basically
reason that it
stops
attacks one side of the brain first is because it's just the way this disease works. One side of the brain gets worse first, unfortunately. That's just the way this is.
Maybe
That's
they
the way
never live long
biochemistry
enough.
is. There's not like a biochemical barrier, in the brain. That's all this very, very osmotically friendly cellular mass that they're freely swapping fluids.
Well, maybe she'll live long enough that we'll actually find out what happens to the other half of her brain. It could be that nobody's lived long enough with this to really know the answer.
It could be, or maybe supportive stuff, or maybe she'll just luck out. Sometimes
that's the thing too, Skep, is there's a significant chunk of luck going on here, because these are very drastic, very modern techniques, and we're still not fully, if it's a big win, great. If it's a complete failure, there's still a lesson. There's still learning experiences to be had here. We just hope for the best and hope that we, as the royal we, hope that maybe that there was a bit of luck in that this theory of cutting that off maybe does retard the process of the spread significantly enough that maybe she might see 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks
I'm all
like,
for it.
From having a quick look through, it looks like that's exactly what they're going for with doing the hemispherectomy. Okay, and basically what they're trying to do is see if severing the link, what severing the link does. Because it could be that if they sever the link, it, as I think Skep and Functional both said, it either retards or stops the progression through the other half of the brain, because
what does the limbic system do? Think about it for a second. The limbic system delivers things like leukocytes, doesn't it?
Yes.
That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to compromise that.
Yeah. Well, I have two happy things to sort of end on, or at least I think it's kind of happy. In previous episodes, I've annoyed some people because I've said I feel like people with Down syndrome get a really rough deal, and I've maybe been a little blunt about talking about the level of impairment that they have to deal with. I'm sorry, I just don't view it as a different state that's the same. It's like, no, it's a significant handicap, and I think it's unfortunate that this happens to them, these people. But I've also said I really feel like, if you can give somebody a good life where they feel fulfilled, that's absolutely important. I mean, it's something that we should.
Essential.
Purpose is absolutely essential. And so I stumbled across this. It's actually a YouTube channel with a guy who's clearly got Downs. It's a cooking channel. And I have to tell you, unironically, I kind of like this channel. And I had to think about why. So this guy is, let's see, Chef Adam Libby.
Oh.
And this guy only makes food that I want to eat, which is like the first thing in the right direction. He's actually doing all the food safety stuff. What?
Can we get a sample of one of his shorts?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We can do that. Let's see which one. So
I was thinking, remember the cable access
Here we go.
guy?
No, the cable access guy, that was a complete train wreck. That was essentially Make-A-Wish cable access. That was Merrill Howard Kalin, by the way. And
Gordon Ramsay's my dad.
Where he was he's joking. So the thing is, this guy, this is one of these guys.
Yeah, hang on, a wild Kefki has appeared. Hi Kefki.
Hi Kefki.
Hi Kefki.
So I mean,
sorry.
I was trying to think of it about why I particularly like this. And there's another thing that comes after this. And I have the thought, which is, I feel like this guy looks at the world through innocent eyes. And when you see him experiencing stuff like this, it reminds you of like the first time you experienced something. It lets you sort of relive something kind of special in your own mind. So empathy is easy. You'll see what I mean by the next clip, but here's his smoked beef ribs thing.
Let's make beef ribs.
Yes, let's make beef ribs. So you see, he has to have his mom help with some of the motor stuff, but he does 99% of the cooking.
I love bio.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
That's it, rookie me.
Smoker.
Yeah. Yeah, baby.
Great. Free Alice Wheeler. Wait, Abby Jesus.
Good man.
Suicide Hunter 5.
Yeah.
Better rest 1 to 2 hours.
Tell me, this man is not more of an benefit of modern life than AOC is.
Oh, he's absolutely it's actually a really great channel. He makes all kinds of good stuff.
He's marvelous.
And he's marvelous, and it's all so innocent and wonderful. And it's actually very entertaining.
He knows how to cook a brisket.
Yeah, he uses the grill. He makes pizza. I've seen, because there's things you can't fake, right? So he's put the pizza on the peel. He's taking it out to the pizza oven. He puts it in without like a disaster happening. That's not his mom holding the handle of the peel. I mean, he's doing that himself.
Yeah.
That's like
that little hook. It's a little shake and push thing you got to do.
That takes practice, and he's clearly done it because you cannot fake that move.
Yeah.
So here's the other thing I saw. I mean, which also I thought was really wholesome. This might make your ovaries twitch a little bit.
I've heard that if you get your gear together, head to the mountains, start hiking.
Oh, I've seen this
forest, and across this bridge, find a good camp spot, set up your chairs.
Now, I hate family channels. I really do.
Look at the beautiful sunset.
However,
make a little fire. Go on a night hike. Go to sleep. Wake up. Do some morning stretches. Build a fairy house. Go for a hike. Get snowed on a little bit. Keep hiking. Look for jewels. Make it to the ridge. And if you do something like this, you'll make some lasting memories.
Because I feel like this is the counterpoint to these women talking about how fulfilled they are, where they suck down box wine, and it's like, I mean, everybody should be able to live the life that they want to live, but I just feel like the marketing.
Just do what you want to do.
I feel like the marketing and propaganda that's being pushed around. There's not maybe enough of this counterpoint. Dads can be good parents too. The dad can take the daughter camping, and she gets to see the world through. Fun. She gets to see the world through brand new eyes, and we get to see her do it. What's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, plus because it's a short, it's literally he sets it up for 2 seconds, and it's not
an
hour long. Let's talk to the camera.
Yeah, it's
wholesome.
It's wholesome. It's good.
I hate wholesome.
I generally do too, but for some strange reason, I actually kind of like this clip. I think it's just because so many dads are just shit on all the time. Seeing a positive presentation of a dad in America, I thought was actually good.
It's the same in the UK. I mean, the dad's always either an idiot, a deadbeat, or some sort of scumbag.
Yep. No, he's just being a good dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, two wholesome things to end on.
Sorry, go.
No, go ahead. Sorry, Spud. I didn't mean to step on you.
I was going to say, and she looks as pleased as Punch.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Sorry, I remember growing up with me niece. I say growing up because I was already 20 when she was born. Or sort of watching her do different things, for like the first time or learning it. And it was like you were watching it through new eyes.
Yes.
And it was brilliant.
Yes. Changes you, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's like getting to see me great niece do little bits and bobs. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I just hope they keep that kid out of public school, given all the crap that's going on. especially if it's a school near Baltimore. Anyway, this has been your Minions of the Zoo for Saturday night. Thank you, panel. Thank you, chat. The zoo's closed. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Change your smoke detector battery.